Hello everyone, I hope you are doing well. So in the previous video we learned about modern list. So the list were divided into two parts since it's a very large topic and there are so many things to understand. So I divided list into two parts, 5 and 6. In the previous class we learned about how we can use copy and enumerate, extend, zip, and we also learned about list comprehension. Today we'll be learning about two more collections in Python, tuples and sets. So let's get started with tuples. So we have already know what list is, right? List is a collection of ordered collection of heterogeneous type. Means you can use string, numbers all together. So what is tuple is? Tuple also similar to what list is, but here is immutable. We'll talk what immutable is. So if you just want a definition, it's immutable list of collection. It's immutable collection of data. So it's ordered. Okay, what does ordered means? Ordered means we can access through indexing. How in the list we do indexing of 0 to get the first element, right? So it's an ordered immutable collection of data. So that is what a list is in simple term. So let's see how it's defined in Python. So to define a tuple, what you can do is you can just put a curly braces. So curly braces and put the element inside it. So suppose 1 2 3. In list we saw it's like putting a braces, right? In the square braces. For tuple it's like putting it in the curly braces, I mean parenthesis. So now if you print this, if you print tup and run this, you can see it's 1 2 3, and we have already learned that we can know the type. So if you print type of tup and see this, it's type of tuple. So that is what tuple is in general or simple term. It's an ordered. Ordered means we can access through index. Immutables means once it's created, it cannot be changed. So we'll come to that after some time when we get an idea of what it is. So immutable means once it is done, it cannot be changed. Collection means putting it in a basket of data. So this can be of anything. So after 3, we can even put a string here. So we can put, and if you run this will still work, and you can see it still work. So as like list, you can put different data type in the same tuple. So that is how you define a tuple. Now what about accessing the element? So since it's an ordered, right? Ordered means we can use index. So accessing element also can work like same how we did for list. So you can write tup, put in square braces, put the index you want, close the bracket. Now if you run this, you can see the first element is 1, and if you enter the last element, we know if you put -1, it will go to the last element. So you see here the last element got printed. But there is one more thing in tuple that's called unpacking. Okay, unpacking means we can so we learned about enumerate, right? Okay, let me go back to the previous class, since there we learn about something interesting about tuple. That's how we got introduced to tuple there. So when you go to enumerate, so if you don't have access to this, that means you did not watch the previous video. Watch the previous video, it's very useful. Okay, knowing list is better than knowing tuple. So it goes in order. Knowing list first, then tuple is very helpful. So we learned about something called enumerate. So what this was doing is, so when we want to get the index of an element, so this was forming an tuple, and we saw that if you put an index and num, right, it will break up into this. So that is what it's called unpacking in tuple. So what you can do here, since there are 1 2 3 4 elements, right, so you can write a b c and d, put equals to tup. What this will do, since this tuple is content of 4 elements, right, so it can break up into 4 different variables a b c d. Now if I print this, right, you should see all the variable coming in. So if I write here a b c and d, and if I run this, you see all of them should get printed. See, all of them got printed. 1 2 3, let's go together. So that is what it's called unpacking. So you can unpack in tuple. So how unpacking works is, how many elements are there, right? If there are a number of elements, you put the same number of variable. But there is one caveat to this. Like if you decrease the number of variables, right, if it's less than the number of elements to be unpacked. Suppose this is tup, we know there are 4 elements, but we provided only 3. If you run this now, you see you will face an error. It says too many variables to unpack. So if you want to unpack, you should know the number of variables that these are part of. Then only you can unpack it. So since there are 4, we need 4 for variable so that we can unpack it. And if you run this, similarly if you do one extra, right, still it will throw the error since there are no 5 elements in it. If you see, not enough, expected 5, you got 4. So for unpacking, you should know how many variables are there. That's how you can unpack. So accessing element is, you can use either the indexing, since this is ordered. Since this is ordered, so you can do the indexing. Similarly, you can loop over the tuple like you do for list. So when it comes to collection, right, you can always loop over them. So means looping over them to get all the elements of that collection. So it's same like how it goes for list. So you can do for element in tup and just print the element. Let's comment all of them so that it looks a little bit cleaner, and run this. You can see we get all the elements. We got 1 2 3. Let's go together. So this is similar to how list works. Now let's come what mutability is. So we have learned everything, but remember we did not learn one thing, that is how do we add element to this tuple. In list we know we can use using append, and to remove we can use pop. But the main difference between list and this is the mutability factor. So what this means is, we cannot, once a tuple is created, it cannot be changed. So once created, cannot be modified. So that is what comes with tuple. So once you create a tuple, right, we created this tup, now you cannot modify it. So let me show you one thing. So if you run tup, and you know how we can modify, we can put the index and change the number 12. Now if you run this, see, tuple object does not support item assignment. You cannot change once it's created. There is no function to even add any element to it. You cannot even remove it. So that is what the mutability means. So it means immutable. Immutable means we cannot change it. Mutable means we can change it. Okay, that is the main difference between tuple and list. In list we can change the number, you know, if you put an index and change this, it will just change. But on tuple we cannot change, we cannot add, we cannot remove. So once it's created, it's done. Then how do you change it? Suppose this is one tuple. Now you wanted to add some more element to it. So how do you do it? You need to create a new one. You need to create a new one and put tup plus and put one more element 3, and then you need to print tup2. Now this is a different tuple, right? This is not a same tuple. This will work. Okay, it's not working because we still did not remove this. So you should be getting all of this. So you should be getting 1 2 3 for the first one, and for the second one 1 2 3. So if you wanted to modify it, you need to create a new tuple. So that is how tuples work. So there is one more thing is for tuple, right? When you want to create one new element, so suppose if you want to do it only for one element, for doing for one element is little bit different than doing for multiple. For multiple it's same, like you can put many things, but if you do for one, right, then there is a little bit change in how it works. So to create for one element, like it's different than how it's to create a long one. So for long one you can just put tuple and do, but if you do for one, right, suppose let's create a variable called tup1 and put one element there. Now if you print this and run this, it looks like it worked, right, but it did not work. Let me show you why. If you print the type of it, tup1, and run this, you should see this is a class of int, but we wanted tuple, right? So for tuple to work, what you should do is you need to let me print this. This won't work. This is not tuple. So to work, what you should do, you should whenever there is only one element, right, just put a comma in front of it. So if you do this, you need to put one comma. So if you put the comma, then Python understands this is not a integer or float, but this is a tuple. Now if you run this, you should see we got one, and now it's class of tuple. So be careful when you're using tuple. So whenever you're using only one element, right, just put a comma in that number. After the number, put a comma. And if you are doing for multiple, then you don't have to look on all of this. You don't have to put comma at the end of the list. So just when you're creating for one, right, for single element, this has to be done. So after the number, you have to put a comma. So that is what a tuple is. I hope you got the basic of what tuple is. Tuple will become useful when we'll work with a function, right? We want to return 2 or 3 items at a time. Then we can put them in a group and send it, so that when someone wants to access it, they can just access it using the just they can unpack it using the naming system, and they can unpack it that we did here. So when we learned about unpacking, right, where did we go? Unpacking, yeah, here. When we learned about unpacking, right, that's how you can use it. So you can pass 2-3 elements inside this list, and they can just put a name. So this variable can be anything, okay? You can name it anything, and but it does depend on the position where you put it. So this A will take the first position, B second, C third, and the D will take the fourth one. So this is how it works. Now if you come to the what are the difference from list, one is it's immutable. That is, it cannot be modified once created, and second is it uses parenthesis for formation. So it uses parenthesis, and it's immutable. That means once it's created, it cannot be modified. So now you know this is since this is ordered, you can do by index. Now there is one more data structure called set. Here set is like it's unordered. Unordered means you cannot index it. So what unordered means is you don't know what is the position of any element. You may be seeing the same position every time, but you can't be sure that it is the position. So that is how set works. So what it is unordered mutable collection. So mutable means what? It works like list. You can add, you can remove element, but it's unordered. What does unordered means? Means it has no indexing. So all the element of it, right, it won't have any indexing to it. So what does index not having indexing to means? You cannot do by how indexing, like a first element we put 0, right? You can't do this for set, because though it may look when you print out set many times, like you may seem like that it's always printing out like how list will print, always the first element always appear first. But this is just a randomized way. You cannot be sure every time that it will always print in the same way. There will be time that it may not print the way you wanted, and you may be thinking like, why is it not printing? But this is by default the structure of how set was created. So set is not supposed to form a ordered, like how you enter the number, it may not appear in the same way. So how do we define a set? To define a set, you can use curly braces. So for set, you can do like s equals to 1, 2, 3, and it's unordered, mutable, unique element collection. So this is the main feature of what set is. So I forgot it in the beginning. So yeah, this is the main feature of what set is. Set is also all the element in the set are unique. That means element, if you put the same element twice, it will always keep it in the unique way. You cannot put the same element multiple times and think it will appear multiple times. One element can appear only one time inside a set. So this is the main feature of what set is. So now let's print this. Print s, and let's print the type of it also. Type of s. Now if you run this, see it's 1, 2, 3, and it's class of set. So now how do you add? Since we said it's an mutable, right? So that means it can add and remove. So what we can do? We can do s dot add 5. Now if you run this, print this as, and let's run this. See, you can see 1, 2, 3, 5. Now let's do one thing. Let's do s add 5 one more time. Run this. See, there is still only 1, 5. So you did s add 5 2 times, right? But still you will be getting only 1. Why? Because set, this is the feature of set, right? It will always keep the unique one. No matter how many times you enter the same element again and again and again, it won't change how the collection looks like. It will always keep the unique number coming. Okay, this is how you add. And for removing, it's same how you do remove. You can do s dot remove and put the element number. Suppose we want to remove 1, and print s and run this. You can see we get 1, 2, 3, 5. Now we'll get 2, 3, 5. But what if you wanted to remove number that does not exist? So let's put 6 and let's print s. So it's just a basic of what we know. If in a collection there is no such item, you can't remove it. We have learned in a list also, when we go out of index, or when we try to remove, when you try to pop an element that does not exist. So it's the same thing. Once it does not, if it's not there, it cannot be removed. Not possible, since the element does not exist. Okay, so that is how add and remove works. Now there are three main functionality of this set that we use in day-to-day programming. So one is union, one is intersection, one is difference. Let's go through one. What is union means? Union means, suppose we take two collection. Okay, so suppose there are two collection. Let's put s1 equals to 1 2 4, 1 2 4. Okay, and there is one called s2 equals to 1 5 7. So now what is the union of this s1 and s2? When you take union, what we have to be careful is, if a number appears on both of them, right? If a number appears both on, like this 1, if it appears both of them, we won't be taking 1 2 times, but we'll be taking 1 times. We'll just club all of them together and make all the number unique. So our solution should be, if this is the answer, it should be something like 1 2 4 5 7. Though 1 appeared 2 times, it should appear only 1 time in the result, since we need only the unique. Though it appeared 2 3 times, we don't care of it, we just want to make it appear only once. Let's see if this is the answer when we do it for using set union. So what we can do, we can put answers equals to s1 dot union s2. Now let's see what is the answer. Let's print this out. Let's say element does not exist. Okay, we did not. Let's comment all of them, so that if there is an error, we don't get. Let's put this also in comment. Okay, you may be seeing like we get the error. I did not remove the error because I want the class, you should know what the errors are. That's why I do not cut off all these errors. If you run this, now you should see we get 1 2 4 5 7, and we already said we should be getting 1 2 4 5 7. Now let's do one thing. Let's bring this to 2 times. Let's see what happens. Now if you run this, see, we still don't get 2 times. Why? Because when it goes to union, it will remove all the duplicates. It will keep only one instance to form a unique key of it. So that is how union works. It's like unique clubbing. So we'll club it, but we'll keep all the elements unique, so it appears only one time. Then there come intersection. What intersection is? So if you have gone through math class, you'll know intersection is what is the common among collection. So common among collection is if two collections. So let's put one more, s3 equals to 1 5 8, and we'll have s4 equals to 1 0 and 5. Okay, so what should be our answer? Our answer should be 1. Why? Because if you see both of these collection, right, the only number that are similar is 1 and 5. Okay, we'll have one more, that is 5. Okay, let's remove this 1. Let's put 7 here. So we'll have only 5 as the common element. So that is how the intersection should work. Let's see if it works similar way when you use Python. So let's remove this and let's put answers equals to s3 intersection s4. Now if you print this answer and run this, you should see we get only 5. Why we got only 5? Because intersection means common element collection. So there are two collections, s3 and s4, and the only element that is common between them is 5. That's why we get only 5. So that is how intersection works. There is one more called difference. What a difference means, what are the elements that does not exist in the second one that exists in the first one. Suppose if you remove all the element in the first set that exists in the second set, then what is the remaining one? That is called the difference. So let's take one more example called s5 equals to 1 4 7. Okay, and we'll take s6 equals to 4 and 7. So what is the difference between s5 and s6? You know, there is only one element that does not exist in s6 that exists in s5 is 1. So now if you run this, answers equals to s5 dot difference in s6, print this answer, you should see we get 1. Okay, we get 5 from the previous one. Let's comment this out and run this once again. You see we get only 1. Why we get only 1? Because the difference between s5 and s6 is only that element, this 1, right? So let's remove this also. Let's see what happens if both of them are same. See, if both of them are same, we get an empty set. Why? Because there is no difference between s5 and s6. So let's keep 1 as the difference, and now when we run this we should be getting 1. So that is what difference is. So it prints the difference between two collection, that is which exist in one but not in another. So that is the main gist of what difference means. So it will take two collection and it will see what is not present in the second collection that is present in the first collection. It will just return that unique element that is not similar to what is in the second one. So that is what about difference. So that's how we come to an end of what we wanted to go through today. Let's go through them one by one again. First is what is tuple. So simply if in one line or in 2-3 words you want to say what is an ordered. So this word I'm saying, these are important. Okay, it's an ordered immutable collection of data. What does ordered mean? Ordered means all of them has an index to access it. So all the elements that are part of this collection, right, they'll have an index assigned to it, so that when we go through the index we'll get that element. The reference of an element are in the index. Immutable means once it's created it cannot be modified. On list that can be modified, since we can modify all the elements in a list, but it's on a tuple it is immutable. Immutable means once a tuple is created you cannot modify the elements. That is the basic definition of tuple. How do we print it? You can print it the same way how you print a list, and the type of this will be tuple. For single element there's a small change on how you define it. So what you can do is, if you do only for one element you don't put the comma, then this will be just a string. This will be just an integer, float, or whatever the data type is. It won't be a tuple. So whenever you want to create for a single element, just put a comma after the element. And how do you access it? For accessing, since it's an ordered, it will have an index, so you can just access it using the index number. So 0, and if you put the -1, it will index the last element. So there is also one more way how you can access, using the unpacking way. So how does unpacking work? If you know how many elements are in that list, then you can use the same number of variables in it, and every variables based on their position will take the elements from that list and unpack it. Then you can print out all of them separately. And looping, since it's a collection, you can loop over them using for loop, while loop, and all that. And what is mutability? I've said in the beginning, once it's created it cannot be modified. That means if the first element is 1, and if you wanted to modify it by reassigning it, that is not possible. But what if you wanted to update it? For updating, what you can do, you can create a new tuple, just put the previous one and sum it with the some other. That's how you can do it. But this is still not updating the original one. It is just creating a new one by taking the other element from other tuples. And how is it different from list? So these are the 2 points how it's different. It's immutable, and it uses parenthesis for formation other than not using the square braces that list uses. Then we come to set. For set, the main points are, it's unordered. That means we cannot do indexing, we cannot access through index. It's mutable. Mutable means once it's created it can be modified in the later part. And the third and most important is unique. That is, all the elements that are part of set are unique. So there can be no two elements that are duplicates. So there can be no two or three elements that have the same value. So that is how set works. And how do you define a set? You can use the curly braces. Use the curly braces and put the elements in. You don't have to care of the first element and second element. Just put the curly braces and put the element inside it. That should be defining how a set is, and it's of class set. And since it's mutable, right, so you can add and remove. For adding, it's simple add, and for removing, it's simple remove. Here remove, we remove the key, that is, since all the elements are unique, right, so they behave like a key. Since one element cannot exist more than once, you need to put the element in. And if and if the number does not exist, it will throw an key error. Okay, so like this one, when you print this, it will throw an error because this key does not exist. So there are some functions that you can be used using set. These are some general mathematics class function where these are being used when you use Venn diagram and all that. So for union means unique clubbing. That means if you take more than one collection, it will club all the unique elements among all the collection in the same collection. So that is how union works. So what you can do is you can use the union function, put the collection that you want to club. That's how you get union. And there come intersection. Intersection is common among collection. So what is the same element that is appearing in all the collection? So you can use the intersection function, and that is how intersection works. Then come difference. Difference is like what exists in one collection but does not exist in the other collection. That is how you get the difference. So that was it about tuples and sets. I hope you got the understanding. So before this, I will just like to say that go through this list one. Okay, list understanding is very important. Tuples and sets come after list. So if you get the basic understanding of how list work, tuples and set will be very easy to understand, and you'll know how to use them where you can't use list. So that was it for today. Let's push in the GitHub. So with the git status, so we have updated more on list and tuples and set. So let's add them all. Git add all, git commit -m. What did we do today? We did tuples and sets. Then we do git push origin main, and this should be sent to GitHub. Let's go to GitHub and see if it was getting pushed. So now if you go tuples and sets and see, it all get pushed here. So that was it for today. I hope you understood how tuples and sets work. If you have any problem, just comment in the comment section below, and I'll try to solve each and every one of. So that was it for today. Thanks for watching. See you in the next.